again coming to you with more notes from our inheritance unit on Punnett squares. Let's get to it. I wanted to talk about some of the vocabulary terms that are associated. You're going to see a lot of word problems that are going to have um, just information that you're going to have to know. So they're asking you about this word here, phenotype. Phenotype. Phenotype is equal to your physical appearance. It's what you look like. So your physical appearance, what we can see. I can see your hair color. I can see your eye color. I can see how tall you are. I can see how long your arms are, if your earlobes are attached or unattached. I can see those things. And when we look at it in science, a lot of times we use words to describe what something looks like. And when we do that, we're describing the phenotype of an individual. Genotype. Genotype is a little different. Genotype explains the genetic makeup of a person. Remember that our chromosomes contain genes, and those genes are inside of our cells, which is inside of our body. I cannot tell you, I don't know what your genotype is. I don't know what's on the inside of your body. I don't know what's on the inside of your blood. However, I do know that I can see what your genotype is, and I can pretty much estimate what your I can see what your phenotype is, and I can pretty much estimate what your genotype is. Your genotype is your genetic makeup. And just like in math, if there's an unknown number, we use variables in math to determine the unknown number. In science, we use letters or alphabets to represent unknown genes. And that gene is called a genotype. There are different types of genes. One type of gene is a dominant gene, and dominant genes are written as capital letters or uppercase letters. Recessive genes, they're written as lowercase letters. And if we look at an uppercase letter, if we see an uppercase letter, or if we're told that someone has a dominant gene, we must write it as an uppercase letter or a capital letter. If we're told that a person has a recessive gene or a recessive trait, then we write it as using as a lowercase letter. So I need you to understand that genotypes are expressed or shown as phenotypes. When we're given a genotype, which in the capital letters or the lowercase letters, you will be receiving a gene from both parents. One of these came from your mother, one of these came from your father. And as a result of that, when we write genotypes, we're going to write them with two letters. This is going to be homozygous dominant. It's homozygous dominant because homo means the same. So that says that each parent gave the same gene. And it just so happens that it's a dominant gene, so we write that as using a capital letter. So if we were to say that the dominant gene for detached earlobes, meaning it's not attached to your head, it's a dominant gene, then we're going to write that as two capital E's. However, there are some times when parents can give two different genes. One gene would be a dominant gene and the other gene would be a lowercase or a recessive gene. And if that's the case, we call this heterozygous because heterozygous means different. Hetero means different. Understand about heterozygous, however, is because there's an uppercase letter with a lowercase letter. What we're saying is that this person will take on the characteristics of this dominant alphabet. So the dominant alphabet will take precedence. This lowercase letter is going to be hidden or stored away in your blood, in your DNA, for use for another time. But we will not see this, we will not be able to see this gene in you personally, but you carry that gene. Sometimes each parent will give their offspring a recessive trait. If both parents donate recessive genes to the offspring, that is called homozygous recessive. It's recessive again because we use lowercase letters to mean that it's a recessive trait, and it's homozygous because both of them are the same. So, this is the same thing. I'm trying to show you that genotypes tell you what the phenotype will be. Your gene tells me what you will look like. So if this is homozygous dominant and purple is the dominant color, then this is going to be capital F, and that means that the phenotype, what we will see, is purple flowers. If it's heterozygous for the trait, meaning that the gene we will write down will be capital F, lowercase f. We will still see purple as a flower, but what we're saying is that this flower has a hidden gene that is stored up. But we're going to see the dominant trait, which is purple. In our last example, if it is homozygous recessive, meaning that the gene we will write down to represent this will be lowercase f, then that tells us that our flower will be white because white is recessive to the dominant color of purple. Let's do some problems. But before we do some problems, I want you to understand that Punnett squares help us to understand the probability that a child or an offspring will look a particular way. We would tend to put the parents' genotypes somewhere on top and the other parents' genotypes on the side. And these middle boxes represent the offspring or the probability that the child will receive these genes or the offspring will receive those genes. Let's do a problem. It reads, the mother is homozygous, and I'm going to underline or highlight some of these words. The mother is homozygous dominant for brown eyes, and the father is homozygous recessive for blue eyes. What will the offspring have? What do you think? What will be the letters we would write down for homozygous dominant? Well, for the homozygous dominant, capital A, that represents the mother's genes, lowercase a, and lowercase a because that's homozygous recessive. Then we will place it on top of our Punnett square as such. Now that we've placed our genes in the correct order, we're going to now place them in the box. So we're going to bring down the top one, the uppercase A moves down, the lowercase a moves over. Let's do this again. The top A moves down, the lowercase a moves over. Capital A moves down, lowercase a moves over. Capital A moves down, lowercase a moves over. Let's look at what we have here. This box has a heterozygous gene, meaning that it carries both traits, but it's different traits. One parent gave the capital A, the other parent gave the lowercase a. And as a result of that, capital A is dominant for brown eyes. The lowercase a is not going to be seen, which means that this person will have brown eyes. This person will also have brown eyes. If you notice, all of the squares are the same. Brown eyes and brown eyes. What does this mean? This means that with the union of these two parents, their children will have 100% brown eyes. But what it also means is that their children will be a carrier, or they contain a hidden gene for blue eyes. That means that 4 out of 4 will be brown. Let's do another problem. The mother is heterozygous for brown eyes and the father is homozygous dominant for blue eyes. What will the offspring have? Let's look at it. We have the mother will be heterozygous, capital A, lowercase a, and the father will be homozygous recessive. So then we will move our alphabets to where they need to go. And then we will fill in our box. Why don't I allow you to do this? Pause the button so that you can work out the problem and you'll see if you got the same answer as I did. Okay, welcome back. Let's look at the answer. Hopefully you received the same answer. So in this first box, what are we going to get? Capital A, lowercase a. Lowercase a, lowercase a. Capital A, lowercase a, lowercase a, and lowercase a. What does this mean? In this first box, what color will this child be? Because of the boxes, they will be brown. Lowercase a is going to give you what color? Blue. So what does this mean for these boxes? That means that the offspring, because of the union of these parents, 50% will be brown and 50% will be blue. Did you get it right? Very good. Let's try the next question. This time, the mother is heterozygous for brown eyes, meaning that she carries the trait for brown eyes, and the father is heterozygous for brown eyes. So both parents have brown eyes. So if they're heterozygous, we're going to get an uppercase letter A, lowercase letter a, uppercase letter A, lowercase letter a. And then we're going to move them excellent. Let's look at what this would make. That means that this will be what color? Brown. This child will be brown, and this child will be brown. But what color will this child be? Because we have homozygous recessive, it's going to be blue. So as a result of that, brown, 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 and blue. What percentage will be brown? 75% will have brown eyes. 25% will have blue eyes. So, if I were to ask you which one was heterozygous for the gene, what would you choose? A, B, or C? Very good if you chose B. B is the answer. I asked you which one was homozygous recessive. Which one would you choose? Excellent. It's C. Homozygous recessive has two lowercase letters. I asked you which one was homozygous dominant. Very good. Two capital A's. I just want to say before we end this that you can use any letter of the alphabet um, because the alphabet just represents the genotype that we cannot see. Words represent the phenotype that we can see, or the physical appearance that we can see. I hope you got something from this. Thank you so much, and see you in class tomorrow. Bye-bye.